Nice job, huh? In fact, that boy, when he was little, he came with a warning label. You know, they said, this boy, problem, violent. And at one point, he locked his teacher in the closet. He was 5 years old. And the school called, yeah, for real. So the school calls me, and they're like, he locked the teacher in the closet. What are we supposed to do with that? And I'm like, open the door? So did an interview with my son and asked him a bunch of questions based on his past and how much better he got over the years, because I think it's a very inspirational story and I'd love to share it. Come on, do you remember when you were adopted?
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember?
What do I remember, Mom?
Yeah, like, do you remember the plane? Do you remember meeting me?
I don't remember any of that. That's something...
Well, you were really young.
I was very young, so I don't remember any of that stuff.
The biggest challenge for Chance, I think, was that he seemed so normal, really. He could speak fairly well. He had some challenges. It was difficult for him to capture various pronunciations, so he might say "burnana" instead of "banana." Or I remember one time he was about 13 and we were playing pool, and he said, "Let's gank it." And I'm like, "You mean a bank shot?" And things like that were very difficult for him because he heard differently than how we spoke.
I remember having huge, I couldn't, like, my auditory, had huge auditory problems. I hear people backwards and I couldn't understand people.
So it sounded like babble?
Constantly, always, school just will babble all the time.
At that time, they didn't have the autism spectrum. Used terms like autistic mannerisms and started giving out many diagnoses, like ADHD, OCD, RAD, DDD, everything was all these different diagnoses.
Like, I had ADD really bad, I had ADHD really bad, I was hyper.
And eventually we got to the point where we went, oh, it's a spectrum. They're on the spectrum.
Couldn't pay attention, couldn't hear anybody. I see the board and it's fucking backwards.
The hardest thing about raising Chance was that he really didn't want to be special needs. And because of that, he was always hiding and embarrassed. By hiding, I mean like when the teachers would come and try to take him to an extra classroom and help him and tutor him, get his speech going, get his reading going. I think he'd scream and yell and fight.
One thing I couldn't get for shit was I couldn't read at all. And I couldn't spell at all. I had problems reading and spelling, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very embarrassed. I was very embarrassed.
I remember when I first got Chance, I adopted him, and the social worker said to me that he was a very angry child and it was very important to teach his brothers to fight back, and he came with like a warning label. Everybody else got a diagnosis. Chance came with angry child label. And I was like, come on, he's 5 years old. How scary can it be? It was a bit scary.
I remember being angry all the time, like fucking like rage issues. Wah!
And always?
Always.
Even
always
before
angry.
You knew you couldn't
Always,
read?
I had a bad temper. Always had a huge bad temper.
He couldn't stand to look in somebody's eyes. He was about 13 years old, and I go, okay, you gotta learn to look in people's eyes.
When you have challenges as a kid, all that kind of stuff is like you have your own personal way of doing things. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have your way of coping with the world, you have your way of doing stuff. You know what I mean? You keep it inside all the time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't tell anybody because, that'd be a bad thing. Right? So, when you're doing that, you're hiding something all the time. You're constantly hiding yourself, and you don't want people to help you and stuff like that. And when people are looking in your eyes, it's like they could see it. It's like they could grab it out of you. And they could control you because you're in control of yourself. Does that make sense?
And so I started doing all these various things. At first I had to trick him.
I think you tricked me a lot. You probably tricking me to do it.
He had a brother, Dar, who's very low functioning autistic. And so even though Dar could make really good eye contact with me, I convinced Chance that we were helping Dar's eye contact by having Chance help Dar eat his lunch every day and hold the spoon up to his eyes. I said, now you have to really help Dar. Hold the spoon up to your eyes, look deep in Dar's eyes and pass the spoon to him so that he'll make eye contact with you. And so Chance got good at making eye contact with Dar, and then we would have these games where we'd practice, staring contests, and he goes, as long as you don't smile, Mom, I can do it. None of this loving eye contact stuff. It was a long road, actually. I did a whole lot of things to help him with his eye contact.
And I think you applied that analogy towards dogs.
Yes.
You did. You said
See?
when
Very good.
and I was like, oh shit, really? And I started to do it with the dogs.
Very good. That's
and I noticed how
exactly
the
right.
dogs look away because you're more powerful presence. You know what I mean? Like you're their master.
At one point, I saw him bossing his brothers around, and I thought, wow, listen to him. He's doing great. He's gone from one A label to another. He's gone from autism to asshole. That's really close to better. So I put him in the Army. Asshole in Army.
So here we are. I'm working with Chance and trying to help him. I'm trying to help my other kids. And school was really tough.
Schools that was getting to me.
Okay.
It was schools was getting to me. It was the schools was getting to me because I was constantly like embarrassed. I need to get, you know what I mean? It's constantly like the embarrassment. That was what holding me back. Because then I'll start feeling unhappy with myself, angry, and I didn't listen to anybody.
Right. And I kept trying and trying, and finally one day I just went, okay, fine, I'll do the job. Rolled up my sleeves, took everybody out of school. And I think maybe it saved Chance's life. Because at that point he was getting in a lot of trouble.
Getting fights every day, fucking, like, I don't know, oh my god, like every day fucking getting jumped, getting fights, people telling me, let's fight that guy Chance, push me into him or something like that, it was constantly like that.
And at that point we had a lot of time to talk about the path that he was traveling. And I looked at the other kids and realized everybody needed to come out. But just pulling them out of school wasn't enough. I needed to create some kind of scenario where we would bring them out of school, I would do the teaching, but the world around us would be happy.
And then as soon as you got me away from all that, and then it was just you and me, and in the very nice environments we're in.
Yeah.
Right? We're always in the cabins or resorts and all
right.
that. Right,
I know that was my way of making a happy world for you guys.
Yeah, I was very happy.
So, for 1 year, we traveled from happy resort to happy resort while I homeschooled. How old were you when you came out of school and we went to the resorts?
13.
So you were 13 and couldn't get it, and in 1 year we caught you up.
You did.
It's cool.
I was reading fucking... What the hell was I reading?
Happiness is a choice.
I was reading Happiness is a Choice.
Yeah, mostly. It was beautiful. It worked really well. However, he was homeschooled, which meant he didn't have any kind of degree, and it was really, really important to him to get some kind of a job or some kind of place in the world where he belonged to a team. I figured that suited the Army, so maybe we could get him into the Army. But he would need either a high school diploma or his GED.
First time I took GED, I failed it. Failed the essay part.
We're going to sequester ourselves in a hotel and just hit the books. And on that night, I just made up a subject. I said, okay, here, I think it was something about baseball. But anyway, I made up a subject, and I said, now write an essay. And he wrote it, and it would not have passed. And we went through it, and he rewrote it, as a means of practicing. So the next morning he goes, he does the GED, he comes out, and he looks at me, and I look at him like, well, how do you think you did? And he goes,
And it was the same fucking topic. Oh shit, this is easy. I can do this.
I just wrote last night's essay. And he passed. For a long time, I was my son's motivator. Basically cracking the whip. And then after the whole resort thing, and after he got his GED, he motivated himself.
So I was like, I'm going to get in the Army, so I grabbed the study guide, the ASVAB study guide, whatever, because I wanted to be in the service. I was going to make sure that I passed that test.
So now he's passed the GED, and he's got himself into the National Guard.
You actually need a pretty high score to become a helicopter mechanic. Not everybody can do it. It's the mechanical part that gets people, but So I went and took it, and I scored high enough. I'm a very capable turbine engine mechanic, so that works on helicopters. So
You are.
yes, I am.
And
An Apache mechanic and a Black Hawk mechanic. So, and I'm going for my associate's degree for it.
one of the things that's been the hardest to teach my children is how proud they should be of how far they've come. And that nobody is going to think they are who they used to be if they meet them today. And it's very exciting for me that Chance was willing to do this interview, because I think he's finally starting to realize he stands on his own right.
I went to Kuwait, and we did missions in Iraq and all that kind of stuff. I did a year in Kuwait, and that was very awesome. Oh, it wasn't an awesome experience, but it was awesome for me to get that experience. It was good.
So he's passed the GED, he's got himself into the National Guard, and now he's decided to volunteer to go to Kuwait. And I'm terrified that he's going to start waking up in the night and screaming, because when he was a kid and all his life, he's had a sleep disorder. Now, did you sleepwalk at when you were overseas?
I did.
In Kuwait?
Yes, I did.
Well, how did the guys take that?
They used to just laugh at me. I used to wake up screaming, and they would just laugh and just Shelton, go back to bed, man. And I'd be like, oh, okay.
So they never got mad at you about it, or it was never a problem?
No.
What if that would have happened in a foxhole or something?
That was a problem. That was a huge. They didn't know. You can't be in a combat situation and have that problem.
Right.
So, but you and me have been doing neurofeedback's gotten a lot better. I don't really do it anymore, but.
And then he came home on leave, and he'd gone from another A label. He went from asshole to awesome. This boy is the nicest son I could ever hope to have. And he's wonderful to his siblings. So the journey's long, but you did it, buddy.
You know, where the huge life-changing moment, I guess, was when we were in that laundromat, and you flat out told me, Chance, you have two ways your life could go right now. You either end up in jail, or you could actually do something in your life, or learn how to read, and I don't know, something like that. And I remember sitting there going, you know what? I really want to do these things in my life, you know? I really want to become somebody. And that was like, you know, I want to be somebody, you know?
Did you believe it was possible?
And right there, that's the only time in my life that until that moment that I actually believed that I could actually become somebody.
Why do you think that was different that day?
I don't know. Maybe I just believed in you at the time. Maybe I believed, I think my mother could help me.
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
Maybe it was the first time I believed that you could help me. You could help me get through whatever problems I had.
Well, wait. The best thing. You overcame disabilities. This is kind of your moment to say what you think it would be useful for people to know.
Like whenever you feel like stuff is starting to get out of control, and you're starting to get out of control, it's always good every once in a while to stand back and to actually look around you and see where your friends are at and see where your support is, and sometimes ask yourself if you're going in the right direction. And it's not bad to actually stand back and ask your friends or your mom or something like that to maybe help you a little bit to see where you're going.
I think that was beautiful. So that's my amazing son. And I know you're not as proud of him as I am. But I hope he helped you.
Child to child to child.